Well, this is a big question. Of course, the word yoga, in an Indian sense, denotes many forms of spiritual practice, and therefore it can be used in Buddhism. For instance, if you look at Shantideva in the 9th chapter, on the wisdom chapter, he says there that yogins of higher views displace those with the lower views. So he means, therefore, of course, Dharma practitioner. And so yoga, in that sense, and yogin, a person who practices a spiritual discipline, is a pan-Indian term. However, there are, of course, in India different systems of yoga, some of which have now come to the West. And there we must make discrimination between that which is authentically Buddhist and that which is not. So the first thing to say is that, as all the great Buddhist masters of the past pointed out, the yoga school of India, which is founded by Patanjali and set forth in his Yoga Sutra, which is allied philosophically to the Samkhya school of philosophy, is definitely not Buddhist. That is why the great masters said, gave a lot of time to refuting the ideas of the Samkhya and Yoga schools. Later on in India, of course, the Hatha Yoga teachings, which are part of Patanjali's system, and therefore part of Orthodox Hinduism, were also used by other Hindu schools, so that other Hindu schools today, both dualist and non-dualist, use Patanjali's yoga and Hatha yoga systems. But that is also, of course, not Buddhist, because their yoga has been redefined in a different way from Sankhya, but to mean like union with the Absolute, which means, of course, Brahman or God. And there is no Absolute in Buddhism. We do not wish to be unified with any superior being, any superior spirit. This is utterly non-Buddhist, a non-Buddhist view. So if people here are practicing Hatha yoga from Hindu systems with a Hindu philosophical backdrop, it is not Buddhist. To be a Buddhist practice, it must commence with taking refuge. To be a Mahayana practice, it must also commence with refuge and bodhicitta. To be a Buddhist practice in view, it must set forth the teachings of non-self. To be a Buddhist practice at the end, it must conclude with the dedication of merit. And clearly a theistic system, such as Hindu yoga, in all its guises, cannot conform to any of these. So we must be very clear-minded about that. Yoga is not the same as Buddhism. Yoga in the modern sense, as it's taught in the modern India and the modern Western world. Of course, if you want to do push-ups or something like that, that's very good, and maybe some kind of Hatha yoga asanas may be good for you, your physical health. I have nothing to say positive or negative about that. But to think that the view and the orientation and the goal and destination of these systems of yoga is the same as Buddhism or can be blended with Buddhism is utterly mistaken, because they're going in two different ways. Now, within the Anuttara Tantra, Buddhist Anuttara Tantra systems, such as the Lamdre and Guya Samaja systems, and also the ancient Nyingma tradition, we do have our own systems of trunkor, or physical yogas. There they are to be practiced only by those who have received the authentic initiations for this system and have practiced the preliminary practices, completed the development stage, and are now embarked upon the various aspects of the completion stage, such as Chandali. There, Hatha Yoga, in its totally Buddhist context, which is very different, in fact, in terms of the activities, can be practiced. But it is only to be given to those who have received those authentic initiations and completed the necessary levels of training. This is how I myself received it from my Sakya masters. This is how we maintain it in Sakya, and I believe this is the best way to continue. I do realise that one or two Buddhist teachers with kindness and good compassion have kind of created very small systems of yogic exercise for their followers to help them kind of limber up for meditation. And as long as they've done this without disclosing any of the exclusively tantric aspects of these yogic exercises, then I suppose it is okay. But if there's any tantric teachings involved, of course it would be a violation of the seventh group downfall, which is to disclose the secrets to those who are not ripened by initiation. But there's these masters, ranging from the late great Karla Rinpoche to the modern American teacher Lama Surya Das, are themselves, of course, authentic Buddhists. I'm sure they've not done this.